Welcome back to the Journeyman's Journey. I'm the old prospector, and I have a confession to make. I am the world's worst YouTuber. Since I posted the last episode 2 weeks ago, I've put more hours into this world than I can even begin to count. I have about 8 hours of raw footage that I actually recorded in the 3 or 4 days right after episode 2. But during that time, I started forgetting, with increasing regularity, to record while playing. Also, for most of the last 2 weeks, I've been on vacation, or holiday if you prefer, and, well, I just wasn't taking this all that seriously at the time. In all honesty, I didn't realize anyone was even watching. But miners, you deserve better. You have been watching. As of a few minutes ago, I'm closing in on 40 views total, which is honestly more than I ever expected. And I've got 6 subscribers. Who knew? So from here on out, miners, I promise to do better. And here we are. So much has happened, so much progress, and actually quite a few setbacks too since we last chatted. I'm not even sure where to start, and I'm not even going to try to show you anything in any kind of chronological order. For starters, the house. I ran out of space in the corner upstairs that I was using for storage, so I lowered the floor in what was basically the basement and made a whole wall of barrels for storage. I've also added some tools over here that I almost never use. You'll also notice the wood types in the floors, and especially the roof, are not the homogeneous all oak they were before. All I can say about that, miners, is be careful handling buckets of lava indoors. That's all we're going to say about that. Now outside, I did quite a bit of brainstorming about how to utilize this big hole for something other than just a way to get to the bottom. At one point, I did some sandboxing in creative mode with this big chain link concept where each link could be used for a different type of storage or sleeping or, whatever. And the water column in the center could be used to get in and out of the hole. When I needed to expand storage or whatever, I could just add another link. I still might do something with that later, or maybe in another world. I'm going to think on it some more first. What I really want to do is make use of both the open area, face it, there's a lot, and the equally voluminous cave walls. Something like Utapau from Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, only on a smaller scale. And without the lightsabers and Varactyls and Order 66 and whatever the heck Grievous was, and hopefully without the falling down big holes. Up top, we'll build a village of sorts, keeping with the Spanish town theme. I have a bunch of handwritten notes about layouts and whatnot, but the idea is that up on the surface there will be a blacksmith, stonemason, concrete mill, butcher shop, weaver, and, whatnot. But the mechanical farms, I'm sorry, I can't think of a better word than mechanical. That'll all be hidden down in the big hole. So here's what the big hole looks like right now. There's still the small water elevator over behind the main house, but now we have all these bridges spanning across the hole at different levels. Each level has at least one water column for traveling up and down. So for the next couple minutes, I'm going to look in on the small handful of mechanical farms that I've managed to build over the last couple of weeks. Some work the way they should, others not so much. Let's call them all works in progress. Nothing I have going on here is original, and I'll try to give credit to where I found the designs as I go. But almost everything I've done so far is based on designs by Avamance and Waddles. First stop, the Nether portal. I didn't spend too much time in there, mostly because it still scares the crap out of me. I only went in long enough to grab a couple of stacks of quartz and some soul sand. Down here, the first real builds I did, this is where I quarried out the cobblestone for the big house, so it seemed the perfect spot. I started with a kelp, mostly because at the time I wasn't seeing much coal. We'll talk about that later. But kelp would help assist in making soul sand elevators, as well as being useful as furnace fuel, and even as a food source in an emergency, so why not? This is based on Avamance's design. The observer up top triggers the whole row of pistons, or I also have a button to trigger it manually. Then the leaves float up, flowing water in a hopper routes them to the furnace. It's simple. Over here, this one isn't working fully automatic yet. It can process either bamboo or sugarcane depending what I need. I don't even know if I really need to finish automating it, but maybe someday. Moving on, here's the one that actually almost keeps me awake at night. I know my brother isn't gonna like it. When he watched episode 1, he gave me a hard time for killing chickens for food. I think my nephews eventually explained to him where meat comes from. Anyway, this is another Avamance design. There are 20 cows, a water block, and a hopper in there. 20 is the limit for mobs in that small of a space, so breeding them causes some to die, and then the hopper directs the meat and the leather into storage. This is another one that needs more automation someday, like a sorter or something to send the meat directly to the furnace. I don't know. Now miners, we come to what so far is my crowning achievement in this world, the iron farm. This one is based on a Waddles design, but due to the underground location and the mechanisms of golems as I understand them, I put the spawning area underneath instead of on top. I also used some redstone repeaters up in the ceiling to automate the blocking of the villagers' view so that they can jump into bed every once in a while. That's important, apparently. The only issue with this farm at the moment is that the golems will sometimes spawn on the walkway or in there with the villagers even. It doesn't break the system completely, but I don't get the iron when they die that way. I have more iron than I need for a long time though at the moment, so once again I'm happy with working but not quite perfect. Next up, we go down. There are 3 extensive abandoned mines down here. They may likely connect somewhere even, but I haven't explored them all yet. I've recovered a lot of good loot from the chests in here, including the name tag that keeps the zombie in the iron farm from despawning. I've also taken several stacks of rails from here that I'm sure I'll probably use later for one thing or another. But what we're here to see, miners, is this, a zombie spawner, completely located just a few blocks from the entrance. I don't know of an easy or safe way to show you all of it right now, but it works the same way spawner grinders have since way back. A soul sand water elevator takes the zombies up 23 levels and then drops them a few blocks away, where I can kill them easily for lots of experience. The experience, of course, is needed for enchanting. One major purpose of both the cattle grinder and the sugarcane farm was to crank out all the books and bookcases I need for the enchanting table. You may recall from episode 1 I talked about how I had never made it as far as enchanting, so this was a major milestone for me. That pretty much catches us up on what I've accomplished since last time, and once again, miners, I promise I will do better at getting everything recorded in the future. Before I go though, I want to touch on our attainment of Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. We've definitely achieved level 1, the physiological needs, at least the parts that pertain to Minecraft. Air is kind of a given, as long as we don't do anything stupid like drown. Water in this context is not applicable, but we have permanent water sources available in the game if you want to be picky. Clothing and reproduction are also out, which just leaves us with food, shelter, and sleep, all of which we've completed in the last episode. That brings us to level 2 of Maslow's Hierarchy, or safety, which includes personal security, employment, resources, health, and property in the real world. Well, that exorbitant supply of iron for weapons and armor takes care of some of that. And a big old fence around the area to keep out mobs would be another big step in that direction. Employment? Well, digging holes, building stuff, and killing mobs. It's kind of why we're all here, right? Resources are all around us. And property? Well, other than a few dozen blocks around that pillager outpost to the south, pretty much anything I want is mine for the taking. Mine. See what I did there? Speaking of pillagers, another thing that happened while I wasn't recording was those cranky gray-faced goons took notice of me finally, and they haven't left me alone since. So far I've taken out 7 patrols and avoided a few more. One thing I really need to build soon is some kind of trap. Let me know if you have any ideas. Where were we? Oh, Maslow's Hierarchy. Yeah. We'll still be working on level 2 for a bit, but level 3, that's love and belonging, and you miners, you can help me out with that. How, you ask? Like and subscribe. It's that simple. So that, miners, brings us to the end of this episode. Before I sign off though, another quick apology for not getting this episode out sooner. I will do better in the future. Till next time, I'm the Old Prospector. Don't bring lava into your house.